Hello everyone. How are y'all doing today? Hopefully well. Sorry, I'm just checking my audio. I recently just went through a bunch of VODs yesterday. I'll tell you I'll kind of give a little bit of the reason why I went so many yesterday, but and then I'll say it again at the end of stream. First of all, hi Foxy, how are you doing? And also, what's with Foxy Fox 1? Are you also Foxy the Fox 1? I'm assuming the answer is yes, but then why do you have 2 and 1? I'm confused. Hey Ratty, welcome in. How are you doing? I honestly missed y'all on Sunday, but man, did I just need the break. For real though. Wait, isn't there like Foxy lore or something where there's like a lot of different like foxes of different universes? Okay. Alright. Something like that. I vaguely remember us talking about it at one point. But yeah, no, I appreciate y'all. There's a shit ton of Foxy lore. Hell yeah. Yo, same. Hey, Scallion, how you doing? Welcome in. Yeah, I know this is not a usual game dev day, but what I was thinking is essentially it's the last chapter of this game. It's something that I've been really enjoying, and then I want to try out just kind of like really looking at games that we enjoy through the lens of a game dev. It's just kind of a way to understand, like, from the perspective of someone in the beginning. We're like, oh, I really like the way they did it this way, or I wonder how they did it this way. Got out of the 12th Doctor era. Hell yeah, Scallion, hell yeah. And thank y'all for being patient for me starting up late. There's something wrong with, listen, there's something wrong with every Doctor, all right? There wasn't really any plans to do errands, but then my mom wasn't feeling well, so I helped drive her around to drop some like presents off for people, and we also got like burgers to eat. Like it was a nice like errand day with my mom, so that was nice. So that, yeah, Christmas is in 2 days, I know, right? Which, by the way, we are planning on doing a Christmas stream. We're planning to do a Christmas stream, and we're planning to do a New Year's Eve stream just like last year. So, look forward to that. Not that he's a Scottish, but there's something there. So all real numbers can have, and does have, a Foxy equivalence, just so you... Oh, the heated rivalry finally soon. Let's go. Yeah. But, yeah, so I was getting, like, a bunch of VODs ready. Because, again, I'll say this now, and then I'll say this at the end of stream. I have made the decision that I will take a break for a couple weeks when it comes to streaming stuff, with the exception of Christmas and New Year's Eve. So our usual, like, weekend streams and Tuesday streams won't happen until the 5th of, like, I'm gonna start things back up in the 5th of January. So our first stream back will be the 10th of January. I don't know, I don't think I'm gonna do the 6th, because I usually block out the streams where it's like it's Saturday, Sunday, then Tuesday, not Tuesday, then Saturday, Sunday. Does that make any sense? It's like, the closer together. It feels weird where you just, the first stream of the week be Tuesday, and then 3 days go by. You know what I mean? So, and there's a couple of reasons why I do this, and there was a lot of pushback internally to not do that, because I'm like, but every single thing that I came up with to not do it, or to, wasn't healthy. It just wasn't a healthy mindset. Like, my first gut instinct was like, well, this isn't a job. I shouldn't just take off. And I'm like, no, this is a job. This is as much as a job as any other job. And I'm like, no. That's not how, we can't think of it that way. And then a part of me is just like, well, I don't feel like I need the break. And the last time I thought of that, I had severe burnout. And I was like, I was noticing similar behaviors from my past self, where I was like, even though I feel okay now, that doesn't mean that I should take that for granted. You know what I mean? So what I've decided to do is, yesterday I went through double the amount of VODs that I'm going to be posting, so that throughout these next few weeks, even though I'm not going live, I will be still posting. Essentially, these VODs are like 5 months old at this point, by the way. I think I'm going through August currently. Yeah, August. So August, September, October, November, December. Yeah, 5 months. So every day I'll be posting more of those. So feel free to enjoy those while we're not no longer to do it. Nobody can match for silliness. True. But yeah, no. So I wanted to let y'all know that stuff's happening now. So there is going to be a Christmas Day stream. There is going to be a New Year's Eve stream. But besides that, until like the 10th, we're not streaming. But I'll still be like online. I'll still be checking up on the Discord. I'll still be posting VODs. I'm gonna try to do some shorts as well, so that's posting for the next few weeks. We'll see. But the idea is like no pressure to get stuff done, nothing to prepare, nothing to like hold myself accountable for, just very much like 2 weeks of just kind of doing whatever. And I'm hoping that is going to be healthy. I don't know if it is, but the fact that I feel reluctance towards it is probably a good sign that it is healthy for me. You know what I mean? So I think I appreciate y'all's patience with that. But there's no way that I could miss out on Christmas and New Year's with y'all, just cause like I don't even remember last year. And yes, we are gonna do Satisfactory again. Satisfactory Christmas and Satisfactory New Year's, 100%. And we just do it for like 6 hours of us just hanging out and just wishing each other Merry Christmas and New Year's and all the other fun stuff. So, because I want to be sure that like, if y'all don't have, y'all will always have somewhere to go if you aren't doing something in real life, you know? I want to be something that is like, you can lean on a bit. Maybe that's a little cheesy. Well, speaking of cheesy, the moon. No. Let's do this last final chapter. So it's going to be a spooky bit. Also, we released that for the upcoming Cult of the Lamb update. Yeah! Yeah! Which is the 22nd of January. That's your birth. Oh, no way, Ratty. It's on your birthday? What an amazing birthday present. I'm so excited. We are 100% going to play that day one, and we're 100% going to get a new costume for it. I am looking forward to it. What I'm not looking forward to is opening that time cancel from last year. That I'm not looking forward to, because I have a sneaking suspicion I didn't match my goals. But we're going to make a new time capsule for next year. And we'll see how well if it's any more if we meet that anymore. I vaguely remember it's like 5 minutes. I have not looked at it in a year, so it's hard to remember. But I believe the goal was to have both like two big lore stream updates by the end of the year, and we haven't even done one yet. Oh my god. Hey, this is not available. How are you doing? Welcome in. There's no complex foxes. You will never find Foxy the Foxy, or at least in this universe. Yeah. Alright. So, I imagine this is only going to take a couple hours max, hopefully. But this is the tail end of Routine, a robot horror game that is also now like a borderline zombie infection now too. And then we're gonna kind of analyze it from a game dev point of view after our own personal point of view, right? I think it's important that, especially when your hobbies and what you enjoy aligns with your expertise and what you do professionally, is that there's a tendency of it kind of loses its spark. It kind of loses the thing that it interests you. Like you super analyze it. You're not able to really enjoy it. So I've been able to kind of like turn that part off of my brain when I first play it. Just kind of like I don't try to look for things. Sometimes it's hard to do, but like for the most part, I'm just like turn the brain off, just enjoy enjoy the ride, and then kind of post experience go back and then analyze things versus in the moment. Granted, there have been plenty of moments in this game where I'm just like, ooh, I like this model, or ooh, the sound design is great. So that's not me turning the brain off. But overall, it's been very, very good. All right. Here we go. We've spent 8.5 hours in it. And in no small part, us getting lost a lot. Yes. Hey, would you mind telling me what we're doing here again? Oh, whoop, I actually hit it twice. Alright, what are we doing? The canal. Now that the interface module has been upgraded to security level 3, I can return... Oh, we're in security level 3. The status monitor instructs us that needs to be taken at the prong terminals. They are misaligned. Yeah. Have you ever listened to Millie? She's probably my favorite music artist and works for favorite game series. Ooh, I have not. Do you mind posting their stuff either in music or game dev? Sorry, I'm being quiet because there's definitely a guy just bumping around here. So I need to listen out for them. Okay, so lift interest off. Prong 1. Alright, where's prong 1? Prong 1! Also, Howard recently added Steam Workshop support. Ooh, that's actually really good to know. And boop! Hello! I'm here in Prague. Oh. Hello. Okay. What? Proximity? Okay. Well, if it's 64 here, nope. And oh, all right. Oh, clarity. All right, let's get that clarity up to 100%. Okay, cool. We did it. Yay! Ha ha. I hear him slippy slapping. Okay. 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 Where's he going? I don't see him. Okay. Our traditional hiding spot. Which is this little roundabout area. Working on my game, and then I finally added a dash, a running feature. Hell yeah! Isn't it? And the cool thing is that you now know how to make it, so all future things is easy. Okay. Okay. Where is he? Where'd he go? I don't see him. So we're gonna keep moving. Alright. Prog 2, Prog 2, Prog 2. Prog 2. Perfect. Prog 2. Perfect. Proximity. Ba-do-ba-do. Nope. Where is this? Where is this thing? Where are you? Here. Oh. Nope. 3. There we go. And oh, wrong way, wrong way. I use copy paste. I'm not making that again. Exactly. That's my point. Can't hear nothing right now. Okay, Prog 1 and Prog 2 are done. Which I think are the only things that we need, if I remember correctly. Let's go this way. Oh no, we also went one over here, right? Let's do this because there's a little rumbly in our tumblies. Yeah, this room. We want the echography room open. No. Where's the thing? Where's the thing? Oh, it's over here. You don't see nothing? Mr. Invisible Zombie Man. Boop, boop, boop. Here's Slappy. Door closed. Haha. You can't get through. The door's closed. Hee hee.
This reality diverges from our expectations.
Uh-huh.
The canal. The moon. It requires us. And we require it.
Do we? I don't know about that. Why is Chrome music playing? Sorry. I didn't realize I was going. Okay, yeah, I don't know about that, Chief. Not gonna lie. Alright, what's back here? Ooh. Lunar echography. Oh. We did need to do this. Align subsurface imaging prongs designated to perform the scan. Okay, let's go. I thought this was just extra stuff. Analyzing data. Analysis complete. Output ready. Oh. What are we looking at here? Immediate intervention required. Proceed to the ripening. What? Immediate intervention required. Induction terminal immediately? Ripening induction terminal? Didn't even buy me dinner first. That's crazy. Okay, well. I would like to be able... I don't think this was open before. Oh. Oh. Hey, I would like to save my game before we continue. Can I do that? Please? But I don't think it's a good idea to open that back there. Ooh. Oh, this is a bad idea. I should save. I should have saved. Okay, it's not. It's okay. So this is kind of like a growing facility right here. This looks like the correct way. Let's go the incorrect way first. We get killed off immediately. We have to do that all over again. I get frustrated, turn the game off. Anything over here? Hold on, let's this one. No secrets. about this way? Anything? What are your secrets? Is this just a circle? Yeah, this was just a circle. Interesting. That's concerning. The fact that I need a circle means that I need somewhere to like break line of sight to something. Oh? I thought I saw something there. Nothing. Hello? Oh, alright. Oh, what's going on? What's going on with me? Oh, I knew I shouldn't have had those beans. No. What's going on? Oh. Whew. Maybe I'm passing a kidney stone. Oh. Ooh, interesting little effect there. Inject amniotic brine? Why would I do that? Well. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes and yes. I choose the right yes. Ripening and induction. Is there anything happening out there? I'm like... Oh. The canal is ready. You don't say. Am I ready? Is it just... Do they wake me up because it's my turn to feed the canal? Is the canal a mouth? And it must scream? Oh. Alright, let's go ahead and switch, just in case. Just in case our tall friend decides he has something to say. Actually, we do need to open this, don't we? Oh, no, we don't. Let's go ahead and save real quick. Boop. What is my next task? Induction is right on the stage. The ripening induction terminal. The canal needs me. Okay, cool. So we've fully been taken over by whatever this is. Gotcha. Right. Archive inactive. Could I turn it on? I guess not. Oh boy. Okay. Oh, are you gonna watch the commercial? Oh, he just wanted to watch his Coco Melon. Oh, they took away my battery. Aww. He just wanted to watch the tree. Oh, he misses his wife. I'm assuming the wife, because that's the female, right? The female that died by eating an apple? Is this an allegory for, like, Adam and Eve? Where she choked on an apple? If so, that's crazy. But it's so cool. Aww. I'll let him have his moment. Is there like some batteries? Like, man, we really were at the end, weren't we? Man, that would have gone all over our visor. That would have been so gross. the baddies the whole time? I am here. I am at the canal now. Airlock sequence. Alright. But first things first. Now that we got some of this, it's just more flower stuff, right? Okay. Oh. Please survive. Okay, I got you. I got you. Security level. Trace. The highest level of security I could possibly get. Did I ever tell y'all that I was accidentally given like administrative clearance on like in a pharmaceutical company one time? It was so nerve-wracking. I was like, bro, I can delete like official documents. Can I be given like not that? That'd be great. Okay, it is dark as hell. Oh. Oh, okay. Thank you, light. Good thing it's motion detected. Is that anything? No. I guess just moving forward. But I still am just looking for secrets. Oh! Into the canal. What if I, like, didn't, though? Looks like I don't. Of course I don't. And of course I don't have a choice. Oh, yes. Hello. Hello, little guys. We are in the canal. It is dark and spooky. Oh. Oh. The bonded cells.
You've come so far.
And in the end, did it even matter?
One final step.
It was an eclipse. Where's our tag? Hell yeah, Foxy. Why are we just floating? Are we in space? Are we returning to baby? Yeah, you can share it in the Discord. In the music, yeah. Or self-promotion, either or. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. This is, yes, the Tendril Forest. How could I forget? Alright, no battery, no nothing. I don't see anything to explore. Hello, Mr. Bulb. How are you doing on this fine day? Oh. Oh. That's a guy. Oh. Oh. Is it me? Who is it? There was like a split second, but I feel like I blinked.
Together. We begin anew. Through me, you endure.
Is this a...
Through you, I endure.
Is he God? feel like I didn't get enough sleep to understand what's happening right now. $19.99. 2025. Oh. Lunar Containment Recovery Program. December 5th, 2025. Objective is to recover data associated with the original Prism Canal expedition. I don't know. I don't know, Ratty. The Prism Lunar Expedition geological contractions within the site known as Canal operations continued until 1979. In 1999, Union Plaza report John Cooper reported the discovery of blank Union Plaza blank operational irregularities. So we're going back. Sovereign engineer sent to correct the automated security network entered the ward. Contraction events aligned with patterns of the original Prism Canal expedition, escalating intensity. Primary objectives: recover all Prism emission data and related to the canal, retrieve blank or irregular value. Secondary objective: indeterminate origin or unauthorized function. Lunar touchdown, approximately 800 meters from the ward's airlock. Oh shit. So they already did it. Upon entry of the ward, the crew reported a dense concentration of particulate matter described as blank or pollen. I bet you it was spores. Substantial interference, complete telemetry loss. Final translation contained one image. Look at all those flowers. They've blossomed. Interesting. So cool, dude. I don't know what the ending meant. Chapter 1 Rebirth? We circled back around? Through you I endure. Through me you endure? That's so good! We've reached chapter 0, by the way. I wonder if this game was meant to be played twice. That's giving me the impression. Look at all these people, dude. Excellent work. Excellent effing work. I wonder if we can see Aaron. There's a person who stopped by, and it was like Lunar Dev Aaron when we were playing it. Either at the best time or the worst time. Hey, Growly, welcome in, welcome in. Yeah, we just finished up the game. But then I wanted to kind of analyze it a bit as like a game dev perspective. And wild game, routine. If you like horror games, highly, highly recommend it. It is probably one of it's been a very, very good. Don't worry, I have the at least the first part up on the VOD channel if you want to check it out. If you appreciate each of you wanting to support a software routine, a long journey, your belief in us, your encouragement, sharing the moment has been the world's. Aaron, I saw Aaron up there. I saw it. That's my man. That's the go. Dino, bro. Imagine your first name Dino. That's so cool. That's so sick. But no, this game was so good. The atmosphere, the sound design, the design of the creatures, and the game was just long enough to stay creepy, but it didn't overstay its welcome, so it didn't get used to it. And I remember like voicing how it almost felt that way, but then I made progression, and then they mixed it up by changing from robots to like this like alien zombie thing. Made fan art in the Discord, by the way. Hell yeah. I will check it out. Don't you worry. Q-Lock SA? Oh, quality. This is all quality stuff. You definitely, every single thing that you do should have a QA. QC and QA, dude. But that's just the science part of me, you know? So many people. This is how many people it takes to make it. Unreal Engine. Yeah. Yeah. So good. Alright, post-credit scene. Let's see it. Give it to me. Now what happens? What happens when we load this again? Oh, we're back here. Okay. So, nothing. Nothing new. Okay, let me see. Let's see. Now let's see if we do new. I don't want to override it. Options, effects. This is where we could change like effects and filigrane and stuff off. Okay, okay. Let's just do like a new game on the first one to see what happens. If there's anything new. If anything new happens, or if we're just gonna gasp. Just Raw Fury presents Doom. That man is made of anger. Actually, I don't know if it's anger. I know Kratos from God of War is made of anger. Lunar Software. Such a good game, dude. I'm going to be raving about this game. Now I can finally watch other people play the game. Because I know Lana played it and put a video out, but I was specifically avoiding it. An ongoing cycle of natural actions and patterns. Oh. Oh. I still don't understand the ending, dude. Again, I feel like I missed. Do not have the processing power.
We started this journey together, chasing the unknown, seeking what we could not see. But now, we're lost.
Hey, Hollow, how you doing? Okay. So no different from what I can tell. Beating the game did not change how we enter it. That is absolutely fine. It was just kind of a curious thing because it seems like there was like some kind of cycle. All right. So. Why'd you get put into a Game Boy? Because there is little helper guys in this game that we're playing currently, and so I made Mama Dodo be a little helper. All right, so let's go ahead and let's put on some music, let's put on some stuff, and then let's discuss this game. Let's do that. Let's see, making sure y'all actually hear it. Looks like you are. Yeah, nah, Game Boy. Game Boy Mama Dodo, baby. All right, and then we just open up Godot, just so we have something in the background. Boop, boop, boop. All right, so that wasn't even 2 hours. That was just 1 hour. That was good. So yeah, welcome in, Hollow. Basically, we were just playing the last bit of Routine, a horror game that, if I were to describe it, it's like Alien Isolation met with what was that old-ish horror game where you're like stuck in like a computer? It's a very, very famous one. What is it called? System something? Is it System Shock? What was it called? Not BioShock. What is it? I remember playing it at one point. Because I wouldn't say it was gifted to me, but I played it a little bit. What was it? Not in Sound Mind. It was around that time, I want to say. Soma. BioShock meets Soma. It may also be System Shock. So that's very interesting. But let's see here. So my reaction from it on a personal level, I would say it's a game where if you like kind of like environmental storytelling, if you like I would almost say like Amnesia-esque, where you're kind of making your way through a level, but there's this monster that you can't really do a whole lot about. But I say that, but in this game you are given agency. So overall, I definitely would say that this might be one of my top 5 favorite horror games that I've ever played. It really gave me some Dead Space vibes, and that's a huge compliment in my book. And I think overall it was just an amazing game. So that's the personal point of view. And I think what I will do is that I will give y'all the game dev point of view after we go do our ad break. Because I want to be able to rave and talk about it without having to worry about stopping midway. So see y'all in 3 minutes, and we shall discuss. I'm tired though. I got like 4 hours of sleep last night. Trying to get all the videos done, and then I got super pulled. You know what? It's not even that. Honestly, it was a combination of I got inspired to modify my Path of Exile to bear build, and I was like, ooh, what if we did this one thing that I found? And when I applied it, I wanted to mess with it and try things out and see how it compares. And I was doing that at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And then I was waking up earlier than anticipated because, you know, my mother wasn't feeling well and needed someone to help drive. So it was those two things happening at the same time made it so I only had like 4 hours of sleep. So here's a hoping that you know, we'll try to do what we can today, especially since, well, I mean, I'm gonna see y'all for Christmas, so it's not gonna be that long. I think the biggest gap with us taking a bit of a breather, hey Dragon, how you doing, is probably gonna be after Christmas. Yeah, it's gonna be after Christmas, because the next time you're gonna see me after Christmas will be New Year's Eve. Oh, you're fine. Who are you watching, if you don't mind me asking? I'm gonna ban him. I'm just kidding. Wow. Pressure immediately. That's crazy. Podato. They were playing Pokemon Auto Chess. Interesting. Cool, cool. I've never been huge on Auto Chess, but maybe I should give it a shot. Because what is the League of Legends one? I've seen some of those before, and I've been curious. Yeah, I'm noticing a lot of dough, a lot of D's and a lot of does in what you like to watch, Dragon. Gotta say, is the main game that is draining most of my productivity. For me, it's Path of Exile 2 at the moment. That's play your own risk. Good to know. Good to know. Well, welcome back. Welcome. We had to recap for those who are just joining us. It takes a while to finish games. Yeah, I bet. We just finished Routine, the horror game. Speaking of which, I should turn off ECRB, or at least mess with that, because we are not all that right now. I'll tell you that much. There we go. Perfect. We just finished Routine, right? And the rest of the training productivity is gypsy style. Yeah, like I was gonna say, you've been butchering a pig for class. Routine is a horror game that very, very well done, very, very good, that we just finished up, that I absolutely loved. And now we're kind of gonna take a look at it from the lens of a game dev, because I want to experience a game as a person first and then reflect on the experience as a game dev, to potentially playing it a second time through the lens of a game dev, just to kind of wonder how they do particular things, or seeing things that I really like that I want to apply to my own stuff, or things that I feel like could be done better to try to avoid in the future. And it's being in the homeland of the Romania, trying to enjoy Christmas with the looming thoughts of the uni projects, right? Confirmed game devs are not people. Never. I would never say that. Game devs are 100% people. Both beautiful and flawed, as they may be. It's just as all people are. And also family Romeo are mixed bags, so enjoying is a loose term. Yeah. I actually opted out visiting my father's side of the family this year. And had a, let's just say, I'm not even going to say interesting. I had a sit down with my father, and with some less than exciting topics, but we here. Well, the game devs are Mama Dodo and me, so that's true so far, right? But yeah, no. So I kind of wanted to look through the lens of it. So, as far as from a game dev perspective, the sound design was freaking amazing, dude. I wonder if there's a way. Can I open up? I want to see. Okay, cool. I'm opening up the file now. I want to see if there is a way for us to look at the sound of the game. Character, type 5, player, no. Menu engine, because I want to listen to it again. I want to it was so good. The audio quality, the suspense, the background environmental drone, when the screens glitch and flicker, when the robots are scanning, it's so good. And I can tell, I could tell some of the parts of the sounds One of them sounded like the printer, like when you print it, it's just like it was like that, right? So a lot of sound design beauty in that game. The environmental storytelling was really, really good. I liked the diegetic menus. So there wasn't really a menu in the game besides like the escape button, which was also a good touch. The fact that the escape button doesn't pause the game was certainly a decision. People who need that to take a breather are going to find that very difficult. But no, for those that don't know, diegetic menu means that like the menu is based around the world that it's supposed to be in. In my opinion, Dead Space has done it best so far, and it's something that I, in making this game, in Last Call, will also be trying to move forward with, which is the menu is going to be part of the game itself. It's going to be part of the environment. It's not something that's just put over the screen, right? It's not, so it doesn't rip you out of it. And it took a hot minute. I will say this, there definitely was a learning curve, not only from the perspective of like what to do, but how to go about it. I have a sneaking suspicion that it could have just been me. I could have just been dumb in trying to figure things out, or it took a little bit longer, right? Like there are things like that where it's like, it could have been user error, and I think there's a decent amount of that, but I've been specifically staying away from other content creators playing this game because I wanted to not get spoiled for anything, but I wonder how much trouble they had in playing it. So because I of the 9-ish hours, hold on, how much did I play this? 10 hours. Of the 10 hours I played this game, I want to say an hour and a half to 2 hours of that time was me being lost and not knowing what to do. Or kind of knowing what to do, but I haven't seen the last little bit. And in particular, was it chapter 5? It was chapter 5 or 4 when we were stuck on that puzzle where it was just like we had the locker combination, we had that bathroom confirmation, we had all that stuff, and I'm trying to think back now, I still don't remember what it took for us to move forward. I do not remember what it was. It must have been something small, or else I feel like I would have remembered it. But also, again, reminder, I'm on 4 hours of sleep. So recollection is one of the first things that goes out the window. It's focus and recollection are the first things to go whenever I don't get enough sleep. So what I will say is, I think has the atmosphere nailed really well. The gameplay is a bit too cookie cutter simple for me. I like a lot of funny stats and strategy in my games. Right. This is not a strategy game. This is not like anything like that. This is definitely like a and one of the things that I will say about it is it did feel a bit railroady. I wish, and I checked a lot, and I could have missed it. Mostly because horror is not my favorite genre. Exactly. Funny enough, strategy dragon. Funny enough, the game we're trying to make is a strategy horror game, and strategy and horror are antagonist. They do not go well together, because strategy is about empowerment through knowledge and skill, and horror is about disempowerment, and to have them, they do not go well with each other, which is why we have to balance everything very, very well, in order to make sure that it is scary enough where disempowering enough where it still feels scary, but empowering enough where it still feels like your decisions matter. And this game, you know, it did have puzzles, but it wasn't really puzzles, right? It was more or less just finding the right thing, listening to the right person, like listening to the right lore beat. I wish there was more things in the UV invisible scan thing. Hey Shadow, welcome in. How are you doing? We just finished routine, so we're just discussing like how I feel about it from like a game dev point of view. But personal point of view, love the game, highly recommend it. If you like horror games, definitely give it a shot. You could probably complete it in about, if you're fast, 7 hours. If you're taking your time, probably closer to like 8, because I got lost for like multiple hours, so it took me 10. But I checked so many different places for like hidden stuff, but nothing showed up. So I kind of wish. And then there was they taught you that there was fingerprints that was going to show like the password for things, and then they introduce a thing where they don't have fingerprints on the numbers, and you need to find another way to go about it. So I was like, that's a little confusing. So there was some stuff where I felt that I got lost and I didn't know what to do next. And a good way to make it so that that's a lot more clear is to have that be in that invisible kind of scan, right? French, wild. It was like, make sure that it's invisible with it until you scan it, and then it's like for the people who don't need it or don't want the hand holding, they don't use the scan thing. And for those that do use the scan thing to kind of get a little bit more information for it, right? So it's kind of just one of those things where there was a lot of bashing my head against the wall. And I don't know if that's just there wasn't enough kind of testing where you could like really kind of modulate the how many hints that you give somebody based on that, or maybe it's just me, right? It could be just me. That I'm one of the few people who had difficulty with it. But again, now that we finished it, I'm actually going to go and watch other content creators like play it and see if they also, or just like, guys, I have no idea where I'm going. I have a feeling I'm not the only one. But so yeah, more secrets. I would have loved to see more secrets kind of hidden away for people to find. The IC little bots, I loved those little guys, but they didn't show up nearly as much as I would have wanted them to. I wanted to see them a lot more often. Well, I'm glad you're doing okay. I'm also tired. Stayed up way too late and then was woken up early. So it was just kind of a war of two fronts kind of deal. But yeah, no, the robots, the 3D models, beautiful, amazing, lovely. So good. I loved the robot design. I wasn't able to get a good look of the alien. I also am a little bit worried about the second part, because I think there is like a brief 3 or 4 frames where I think the alien was nude and you saw something that shouldn't be seen on Twitch. So there's a part of me that's just like, oh, well, I'm not going to point it out. But I think I saw a cool game recently, similar to what you're going for. It was about being an operator trying to save people from natural safety hotline. Safety Hotline is on my list of games to play. And you are correct. It is similar in nature, except that one is more of you looking up information to give accurate information to people. And our game is more like, I wouldn't say, almost like Papers, Please in a weird way, where it's identifying falsities. So yeah, no, I that's definitely on the list, because I was also looking at like 911 operator games, and I watched some playthroughs of it just because the games that I saw were like $40, and I'm like, I'm not gonna spend $40 for reference. And a lot of them were a lot more focus on picking the right responses and questions to people asking stuff, and then just sending a person on their way, right? Now the dispatch stuff, the dispatch game that came out did introduce an interesting thing that we talked about that we haven't made a decision of yet, but that's further down the line, which is, do we want to be able to select which people goes on the route or not? And we can have compatibility, we can really kind of make it our own, because we want each person to feel like their own person. So in dispatch, but I think the reason that we're kind of leaning away from it is, yeah, this is more Ace Attorney, this is more Papers, Please. Yeah. What was I saying? Crap, I lost it. Well, maybe. Crap. Yeah, what did you expect? You're like, what? I wonder what this is. We were talking about, I was leaning away from, oh, I remember. Because we wanted to be mindful of mental load as far as decision making. One thing I will say, that after watching people play dispatch, this is something that I am planning on doing. I think, and you know what, we will, let me open Excel. We'll write this in here as well. Wait, is this on? Let's see. That's Godot. We'll just have this one be renamed to Excel, and then we'll just switch to different Excels. So this Excel is to last call hub, and then boop. All right. This was our goal, by the way, for today, which is find a way to make current location decision what is available, which is not. But we're gonna come to that. We're not quite done what we're talking about. But what I wanted to write down was phone system. Here it is. Note. It did cause amnesia. Have decisions to be timed, but allow player to pause game. So a lot of things, I don't know if y'all clock this as well. Dispatch, for those that don't know, is a kind of like a superhero dispatcher, choose your own answer romance kind of game, right? Very good, very well done. Love the characters. I really enjoyed watching people play it, right? Good times. And I was like, okay, that's adjacent to 911 operator. So I kind of had a little bit of my game dev hat on, just kind of like looking for little ways that they went about doing stuff. And one of the biggest things that I saw people do while playing the game is that what they would do is that they would be given a choice, because it's timed. It's not a lot of time to make a decision. It is timed, like, I would say like 7-8 seconds, maybe 10 tops, and you are given a couple options to choose from. And what most people did is that when they were given a choice, they paused the game and then kind of sit back, and they were like, okay, let's see here, let's take our time with this, let's ask chat, let's think this through. And then they unpause it after kind of having that discussion and that kind of stuff, and then move forward with it. And even though it's timed, they were able to pause it. And we kind of went back and forth on it a bit, because way back, for those that may or not have seen it, we did a couple of streams discussing about accessibility. And one of the bigger things in accessibility is being able to is kind of like mental load, as far as giving options to like control this, like how much time it takes to make decisions, because maybe for other people like it takes longer for them to make base decisions, so they need more time. Like, it's really making sure that accessibility is widening the net to be able to include as many different people as we can, right? And it also makes the game a better experience for most people. So it's one of those things where it's just kind of a win-win, in my opinion. Now, imagining a hard mode where pausing is disabled, where the operators just notice a player character blank out, the operator's freaking out, right? That could be something that we could do too. It's like on hard mode, you can't pause it. You have to stick with or when making a decision, you are unable to pause. You can pause outside of it, but when you're in a decision, pausing does not stop game time, right? It doesn't stop things from moving forward. And after, like, we didn't make a decision as far as accessibility, because I was like, well, we could put a timer on it, but do we want to put a timer on it? I don't know if we want to put a timer on it, because then we're gonna have to find like the exact time that makes sense, and not every. It would also make it so that we would have to keep our hints in our story and our discussions on the phone within a certain kind of timetable, so that we would expect an approximate level of time investment into answering the questions. AKA, it's like this, for those who have no idea what I just said. Basically, it's like, okay, cool. If I give you 5 seconds to answer a math problem, and you get 5 seconds regardless of the math problem I give you, there is a big difference between me telling you to do 2 plus 2 and 15 times 14. You're going to need a bit of a considerable amount of time for one of those over the other, right? So we would have to then restrict what we provide in order to make sure that the expectation is that people would be able to finish within the time period, right? But in Dispatch, what it showed me was that you can have it be timed, but give the player the agency and ability to pause, take the time that they need naturally, either through I'm thinking like Game Grump style, where you have like 2 people who are trying to make a decision with each other. You have streamer style, where when you have a delay and you're talking with people and you're kind of having this community kind of mindset, and kind of branching back to the triangle of importance when it comes to making a game that I discussed way back, which is you want to make a game that's fun to play, you want to make a game that's fun to watch, and you want to be able to make a game that's fun to play after watching someone else do it. And you need all 3. So we need to, and especially in this kind of environment in making games, is you really want to make sure that you're thinking about that kind of stuff, because that's what's going to happen. People are going to play the game in those kind of environments, and you want to make sure that in those kind of environments, does it work? Does it work well? Is it frustrating? Does it create pain points? Or does it solve them? Right? So to be able to pause during right after we hear it, and after, like, I would even say, let's do this. Notes. Why do I have capital O every time, dude? Excuse me. Sorry. Oh, God. I have dad sneezes. I apologize. I've had dad sneezes my entire life. I'm not even kidding. Oh, it hurts. It blows out a lung. I don't know what... It also would explain why I don't get sick very often anymore. When they get flown out of me at like 500 miles an hour, it will happen. Oh gosh. Anyway, I keep my sneezes in. Careful with that. You might you might pop a vein. No, for me it's well, FYI, fun fact. Did you know that sneezes are learned? When scientists compared sneezes between people who were born deaf versus people who developed deafness later in life, they had different sneezes depending on the environment they lived in. And unfortunately for me, I lived with a father whose sneezes literally shook the house. The ceiling would rattle when he sneezed. I didn't stand a chance. Compared to him, my sneezes are tame. Anyway, have decisions to be timed to allow player to pause game. Shit, I got sidetracked again. What was I saying? This is why I write shit down, by the way. Hey geese, welcome in. How you doing? Oh, I need to change the category. Boop boop boop. Boop 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 boop. We're talking about hard mode with no timer. No. Well, that too. Timer. No hard mode equals no timer. No, we were talking about dispatch. Setting up the GitHub for my Game Jam project. Hell yeah. What are you doing for Game Jam? Talk to me about it. Love to hear it. Well, I try to get myself on track. What we were talking about. Yeah. Or well, to do a Game Jam project or to set up the GitHub. Because sometimes it's just the little stuff. I finished a week ago. Oh, listen. When you're busy trying to make something, it's the little stuff that falls through the cracks. And you know what? It just means in the future you won't make that that issue, or you will, and then you know that it's a problem that will need to be worked on. Allow player to pause the game. Hard mode is no timer. God, I had it. We were talking about dispatch. We were talking about pausing. We were talking about accessibility. Ah, I remember. Speaking of accessibility, because what we're going to want to do is our thing is a lot more auditory than it is text. So, for example, if in dispatch, well, I'm going to write this down before I forget a second time. Re-listen button. We didn't use GitHub. We just gave everything to the lead programmer to a project. Yeah. It was hard mode, not allowing you to pause. I misspoke. Shoot. Yeah, no. I mean, we did talk about that, but it was one of those things where I didn't quite say it out loud or write it down yet. We managed to piss off a bunch of people in our grade looking at the comments we got on itch.io. No! Oh my gosh. What were they doing? Was it just like... just not good, or was it just like they were just talking out their butt? But the re-listen button. So in something like dispatch, you're given a very, I wouldn't say simple, but like the reactive, you're going to be able to remember what is being said, and if you don't, the text is right there anyway. And I know there were some times where people paused it, and then after discussing about it, they forgot what the heck they even said in the first place, and the text is gone. But in our case, we need to give them agency to re-listen if they need to re-listen to it, right? So, like, if they're like, cool, they're discussing about, I was like, oh, I don't know, I felt like this inflection was a little off, so I feel like it is it's a mimic. It's like, I don't know, and like, how did they say that sentence again? Because you're breaking apart what they're saying to see if they're a real individual. So you need to be able to hear it again, if like as many times as you need to, in order for you to properly have that kind of conversation, right? So a re-listen button. I mean, we do also have like the quote unquote receipt of the call. in which it's going to be printing all the decisions and stuff made, so that you can see historically like which houses were saved and which ones weren't, so that if you step away from the game and then come back, you'll approximately know what you missed, right? Yeah, it's like no Mac support or even too lazy to download it, stuff like that. I mean, too lazy to download it, ignore those. No Mac support just shows that there are people who wanted it for Mac, which I think is certainly feedback. Whether or not you decide that that's good feedback or not is up to you. But the too lazy to download it, those are just like people. It's like, cool, that wasn't helpful. You know. Well, at that point, it's just like, cool, then whatever. It's a big focus game. The game jam wasn't even well organized. Even one of my friend who was in another group said he didn't have fun. Well, I'm sorry you didn't have such a good time with it, but don't let that hold you like back from doing other game jams. Like, try different other game jams with other people. Like, don't let one bad experience, one bad apple spoil the bunch. You know what I mean? We had 2 days and we made our own engine, made our own graphics, charts. We didn't have time to make support part for Windows. Exactly. It's kind of one of those things where it's just like, cool, you worked very hard, and the first thing that people go for is just like, what? No cheese? Like, don't worry about it. I'm sure what y'all did was, I am proud of what y'all have made. I can already say that without even looking at it. Like, don't take those kind of comments to heart. If it's one thing if the comments are just like, it feels clunky, like those kind of things where it's just like, okay, maybe the movement needed to be a little bit more worked on, etc., etc. But if it's just like, why didn't you do more, then at that point, disregard it. No, the group was fun and well organized and even had a dedicated graphic designer. Hell yeah. Then I'm glad you had a good time. I'm really happy that you had a good time with it. Hell yeah. I was gonna say, maybe I need to start joining them. But I have a feeling that that's just part of my brain is just like, idealist, you can't even finish what you're doing now. Why are you trying to join a game DM? One thing I learned is that people who play games don't know what they want in playing games. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just humanity and people in general. People are really good at pointing out mistakes. People are really bad at solving those mistakes. Like pointing out solutions for those problems. But 30 hours straight drawing only for someone to say he didn't put much in the graphics. Yeah. That just shows they just didn't know what they were talking about. At that point, my reactions are usually put up or shut up. Only talk if you can do better. If you can't do better, do not criticize like that. If you can do better, then by all means, then you can talk. But until you can, you don't know how much work was put into something. Wanted to make a Tycho game in Unity for the longest while I didn't revisit it. Yeah. Feel free to share the GitHub link over at Game Dev on the Discord. And let people know about it. You're more than welcome to. I'm sure people will love to check it out. But anyway, we kind of got a bit down this side road where this was so decisions be timed, but you can pause the game. Hard mode means that you can pause the game, but it doesn't technically stop in-game time. And then a re-listen button so that people can see or hear the last thing where they are making a decision over, right? If they're making a decision for it, they should be able to revisit it if need be. And then they can take as much time as they want. And then we don't have to worry about finding the right amount of time for something. It's just we give them 10 seconds to make a decision that if they want more, they can pause. You know? It's based off of Five Nights at Freddy's, or not Funkin', sorry. We made the charting, the effects, learned Lua specifically for the game jam to use library, and had to use AI to smooth out everything. Understandable. Yeah. What makes you say that? I think you'll find that Dragon has a very consistent naming theme. Lua is a language I don't know very well. Yeah, and I've met Arson. Arson knows their stuff. Very, very smart. But then again, like all of y'all are, so I can't really say much about that. All right, so back to what we were talking about with routine. I don't even remember where we were at with that. Yeah, the 3D model is amazing. I loved. I wish I saw more of the alien so I could rave more about it, especially when it goes invisible. Apparently, it does become very different when it's invisible. But the thing is that the whole point is that you're not supposed to really look at it, so we weren't able to look at it a lot. Let's see. What else? Length was pretty good. Oh, I remember. We wanted to have more 1Cs. The little robot gods that Mamadodo is based around. I wanted to see more of them. I wanted to have them play more of a role. Especially because there's still that one like announcer that was talking about how they can't feel their legs and they want to go home. And I'm just like, was that one of the ICs that said that? And are the robots people? And when we turned off the system, did we kill the people? That I'm still not 100% sure. So I'm still confused narratively speaking as far as what the hell is going on in that game. I have a couple of theories, but it's one of those games where I need to watch a theory episode of Routine to get to the bottom of it. I mean, it's kind of whatever, right? No. Let's see. But what else? What else would I say? Being able to defend myself did make the monsters less scary, but it also made it a lot less frustrating. So it's hard to say if it was a benefit or not. I would say it made it less scary but less frustrating. So it's like it kind of balances each other out either way. Just trying to think. I do think the robots were scarier. Oh yeah, I also got a post and profile picture on GitHub out of the game jam. Ooh, that's really cool. That's nice. That's a neat little bonus. Yeah, essentially they gave you a gun immediately. Like that's also like a good example of things that weren't necessarily clear. For those that don't know or remember, in the first part we got stuck for about 45 minutes because the game was just like it was essentially overload the circuit or something, and we were like, cool, I don't know what that means or what that looks like. And it wasn't until we walked around and then we went into the train to go to the previous area and then looked around to like the other thing, like we really tried to find it. And then over near where they originally had us be, there was a post-it note taped to a wall that was near it stating that like, hey, use the little machine that everyone has now to like shoot at the circuit to overload it. And I'm like, this thing can shoot? And then it shot a pulse. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think this was a gun. Granted, I think it did say something about do not point it at one's C5s or something. But I'm like, oh, okay. But I didn't think that was like a pulse. I thought it was just like, just don't point at them. And by that point, we haven't seen a C5. The big robot guys. And they didn't introduce it until it proved to us that we actually knew how to fire it, which was good game design, by the way. I will say their ability to give us something new but not letting us move forward until we know how to handle it was good. Is C5 just C4 plus 1? No. And I can't answer why that is. There's probably some mathematical reasoning. All I could say is, intuitively, the answer's no. And then it ended up being like this small case. Oh, that's what it was. I remember why we were stuck for so long. The one room in the server room was an elevator room. 4 is not greater than 1. Correct. Everyone's head just exploded. Yeah, it was an elevator where the buttons were like a slightly different shade of gray on the wall. And I will say in that case, that is just simply a design flaw. Those buttons should have been brighter. I'm not saying it should have the yellow paint like every other game does for attention, but at the very least, the boxes to shoot and the buttons in the elevator should have been approximate as far as like, you really is like, hey, these are interactable. Because if I were to show you those buttons and just random like on a wall, you wouldn't be able to tell it as like decal or not. Glad to make you lose your train of thought, Dodo Man. It's not hard. It's not hard, Geese. Tell you that much. So what is important and interactable, definitely needed a bit of an adjustment, which again makes me feel that that's more of a not enough testing, not enough people player feedback. Because I do think if they had enough player feedback, they would have gotten that the interactable things were a little too homogenous with the rest of the environment. Free 1-year subscription to Microsoft Office. Where? Oh. No, just all the bodies. Let's see what else. Anything else? Oh, not my data. Yeah, whatever. There are like 5 companies that probably already have it at this point. Good luck. Have fun. Have fun with it. I'll just keep an eye on my bank account, and if anything weird happens, I'll just stop it. What are you gonna do? Take my student loan debt? By all means. I ain't gonna stop you. To this company. What company doesn't already have it at this point? You know, go for it. That's not giving you, you know what? That is technically giving permission. I do not give you permission. It doesn't mean it won't stop you, but I won't give you permission. Got a student loan. You can't take me deeper hole if I'm already right where I bottom. That's pretty much how it was for a while. Let's see, what else would I say about it? I mean, there was 3 interactables, right? There was the pulse, which was essentially a gun that is, if you hit the core of the robots, they are essentially it completely stops. And they gave you so many batteries. There was a crazy amount of batteries in there. Granted, they didn't do what a lot of horror games do nowadays, which is like inventory management. The fact they didn't do inventory management, I'm actually happy for. I'm glad they didn't do that. God, comp sci is expensive. Tell me about it. I got my master's degree in biotech technology. I feel you. And what was it? I honestly don't even remember. Can you tell my brain is struggling? What that degree is? Science. It's just science. Tell me you aren't sending me malware before I download the photo. I hope not. What's the word? What else? Anything else? Besides the times we got stuck, the pacing was really good. I liked the robots a lot. The zombie noises was also really effective, but I didn't get to really enjoy it as much. But I also didn't want that to overstay its welcome. No, I think, you know what? I think the thing with the zombie one, or not so, I keep on saying zombie just because he looks like a zombie. There were times where I was like, oh, we're going to interact with this, and then we're going to have to like hide around corners and get around them, etc. There was like 2 or 3 times where we hit that, and then there wasn't anyone there. You know what I mean? So like, it was kind of one of those things where I was just kind of like, okay, so it was like weirdly not a threat, because even if you did manage to like mess up and it charges you, you could still flash them, which didn't even take a full charge, and then get like reasonably far enough away, and then it just doesn't bother you anymore. So it didn't feel threatening. He felt intimidating. Don't get me wrong, he was very intimidating. But like the monsters were quite tame in the sense of like the robots just straight up threw me. They didn't even kill me. They just threw me. So yeah. So very, very good game. Have some issues with it, but those are fairly minor as far as the experience go. I think 80% of my issues would be fixed with just a slightly more obvious design as far as interactables in appearance that wasn't as homogeneous to the background. Still like diegetic, like it's not just like yellow paint on a mountainside and you're like, how did the paint get there? But very much instead of just like, that I know that is interactable because of blank. And with the circuit ones, it was like the yellow cord hooking up to it, right? But what about like the elevator buttons? The elevator buttons in a light gray elevator, a dark gray button does not stand out to me. Instead, that should just be like the yellow buttons or something. Reminds me when I was working for cybersecurity and had to download malware just to test the firewall on a server. Crazy. I mean, cybersecurity, there's good money in cybersecurity, and that's only going to be becoming more and more valuable. So it's honestly I think that's a good path, personally. FYI, you're a software engineer in this game. Just saying. And for a software engineer, you did a significant lack of software engineering. Funny enough. I kind of wish there was some of that. I do wish there was a little bit of like Alien Isolation puzzles where you are like trying to like fit, even if it's just fitting shapes is like burp, 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 or something, right? Damn, so we do leak code in this game too. I feel like I've seen this on the not ITG Discord. Oh, the thing that you downloaded. Gotcha. But yeah. Trying to think. Oh, and I'm also very confused about the story. But that just might be the style of the kind of narratives. There are just some narratives out there that I just do not understand fully. And that's just on me more than anything else. But from what I got from the narrative was that like they found something on the moon, people started hallucinating, a like security system got an update from the head honchos that were just like, hey, keep people here, keep things contained, and we are going to like understand and recover the thing that they found, right? And classic alien stuff. And then things go wrong. But then there's like the implication of what feels like people becoming robots, and then even shutting down the robot like AI system stuff was like made it feel organic. So was that them? And then after we shut that off, then it's like, cool, we shut off the evil robots, but the robots were containing an alien spreading virus. So I mean, I feel like that's more of a problem than the robots were. So it's hard to think about that. For just being like, is that? And then we get there and it's like, through me and through you we explore each other, and I'm like, okay, so are we married? Who are we in this situation? As far as I'm aware, we're the software person who has no interpersonal relationships with anyone at this base, and yet the person at the end was just like, yes, we are one of the same. And I'm like, what? So is it just us reliving it over and over again? And is it kind of like reincarnation-esque? Or I don't know. I don't know, man. I am confused as far as that story. It ended wildly. So I'm definitely going to have to watch a breakdown of it. I'm definitely going to watch other people play it to see if they had similar kind of things with it. But as far as horror games is concerned, I am very happy, because I was looking forward to this game for a long time, and I was not disappointed. So it is worth the play. It is worth the money, and it's something that I highly recommend to people. Very cool, very good. Something tells me it needed a little bit more time in the oven with some feedback stuff, and it would have been perfect. But sometimes that's not the case. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's just how it be. I really want to find those sound files though, because I want to break those sound files down. I really want to just peel those onions back to just listen how they did it. I think that's my favorite. My favorite part of that entire game was the sound design. And that's a sign of a really good horror game, which also is a sign of our horror game that we're making, is that we really want to make sure that sound design is good. Reverse engineering Dodo. Does that mean we do mechanic Mama Dodo but just inverse the color? Oh man. Oh. Okay, I think that's enough of an analysis. It would be funny, actually. It's reverse engineering Mama Dodo, and it's just a reverse. Don't even inverse the color, just make Dodo upside down. That's pretty funny. That's kind of funny. Or what if I flipped it horizontally flip it so it's just facing the other way? Or it's on the other side of the screen. It's an engineer Dodo in Australia, right? Okay. The real question is, do I have the current mental capacity to do any kind of game dev? That I don't know. Or make it a thin line and say you just moved it along the x-axis. I certainly don't. Yeah. 4 hours of sleep is not usually a good way to try to start game dev stuff. But I feel that, especially since, and y'all might have missed it because I said it in the beginning of stream, but this also kind of goes to what you're talking about earlier, Dragon, as far as you feel like there's a lot of pressure on you for Christmas and all that other kind of stuff to get stuff done. I am, one of the reasons why I stayed up late yesterday is because instead of doing the normal amount of VODs to make sure that it's ready to go for this week, I did double the amount. I did 12 videos, in which I'm finishing today. And because I am going to take a break for a couple weeks, with the exceptions being Christmas Day and New Year's Eve, in which we will have a stream for those times because we did it last year and I had a lot of fun with it, so I want to do it this year as well. But our usual streams won't be happening. But I want in exchange, I essentially am going to have all those VODs be happening throughout that entire time. So people can go and watch those VODs as they come out, if they so desire. And I was kind of going back and forth on it. I was kind of like, but every defense I had for not doing it were very not healthy. They were very just like not super good as far as like reasons to not do something. So I was like, if I'm feeling this much internal pushback, then it might be healthy for me. Because the last time I had those kind of thoughts, you said false error. Because I definitely want to do Christmas, and I definitely want to do New Year's Eve because I like being here. For if people have nowhere else that they're doing in their life, you know what I mean? At the very least, they can come to stream. So I want to provide that space for people. And I'm gonna make sure that I spend time with my friends and family as well. So I'm gonna make sure that doesn't get in the way of that. But outside of that, like, no pressure to try to get things done. No kind of like, oh, I have this minimum thing I need to keep up with, or I need to work on this, or I need to finish that. Like, none of that. It's just kind of like I get to do what I want when I want. And then with all that set up yesterday and today, hopefully starting tomorrow, with the exception of this Thursday because it's Christmas and next Wednesday because it's New Year's Eve, I won't be doing any work. I'm just going to be kind of playing games here and there, socializing, and then more than likely, knowing me, I will be working on stuff, but not due to any kind of preconceived pressure to get it done. So that's also another one of the reasons why it's just like, even though I'm really tired right now, I'm kind of hesitating ending early, just because that's not a great way to start it. But tell you what, let's do ad break. Let me think on it for a couple minutes. Let's see what I come up with. We'll see what I decide on. It's like the bio of the PHP profs GitHub was like, my segmentations might be faulty, and thus my core might be done. Y'all are too smart for me. Oh, that's one of the problems with being self-taught versus educated. Is the biggest thing is lingo. One of the biggest things they teach you in school that self-taught is very difficult for is terms. Getting the proper terms and understanding the proper terms for the profession is one of the pitfalls. So it's like I can I could teach myself how to code. I can teach myself how to make games, but if then when talk to a fellow game dev, they start using terminologies that they learned in school that I never learned separately, it's going to be difficult to communicate. You know what I mean? Yeah. And boop. Not smart. It's not swart. Just traumatized by the error message segmentation fault. Core dumped. What does that mean? Is that if it bugs out so hard that, like, it deletes itself? Boom, 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 bum, 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 bum. Wow, I guess that key kicking back the main menu was not implemented yet. Bana bana boom boom. Bana bana boom boom boom. Bada bada boom boom boom. Boop 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 boop. Boop 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 boop. Boop 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 boop. Boop 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 beep beep beep. Oh yeah, no. I put 2 and 2 together. I figured as much. It was in C whenever our memory was invalid. I see. Tried accessing something it wasn't supposed to, or the memory usage was unsafe. I see. We're lacking a bunch of features in game isn't optimized, so I mean, it was a 2-day game dev. You know what I mean? Optimization is its own, like, if you were able to optimize, that's amazing. The fact that it's even functioning at all is a feat in and of itself. Let's see here. So our current thing, as of right now, here's the thing. What we're gonna do, even though I think I'm way too tired for this, we're gonna attempt to try to make at least a little bit of progress today. And if we can't, then we'll stop. And if we can, then we'll stop but feel better about it. Spoiler shit, either way, I don't want to use C again, and that shit scarred me from the sounds of it, yeah. Because nitpicking it to hell and back is pointless if the game judge is over. So, yes, from the sounds of it. Yeah. What do you call it? 2 asexuals sitting in a tree. Fire department, they're stuck. Well, I mean, asexuals also know how to climb. Maybe. But I get what your point is. That is pretty funny. They could probably get down. Probably. Find a way to make the current location decision what is available for which location. Oh god, this is not going to be well because I don't even think I fully even grasp what that even said. Find a way to make current location decision what is available for which location. Never seen an asexual climb before, therefore it's impossible. That's true. But then again, I've never seen no, I have seen a monkey climb before. I take that back. I've been to the zoo. They know how to climb up and not down. That's, you know what? Fair enough. Actually, going down is very easy. It's going down without getting hurt is the problem. Then making a mod with 3 songs and working charts with minimal gameplay bugs is actually quite impressive, right? Find a way to make current location decision. What is available for which location? Oh, right. Right. This is a location check where we hit the button and then it gives us the node or the location, and then we need to create kind of like an if situation where if the mimic is at this location, then you want to turn on these options and turn off the other options. We need to kind of like create I wouldn't say a decision tree, but like to the extent of like, oh, it's house blah. Here, I'll show you. Maybe it'll be better. Needed by done message. It's so sad that people aren't naming their kids Gaylord anymore. Here, I'll allow it. Right? Bring back Gaylord. And boop. So, pretty much here it is. Why was it flagged? Because you said Gaylord. I understand that was a last name, but it's also an insult. How you feel about that is, you know, on y'all. Because it's an insult. In the 90s, no, neither. It's when you put it together. Again, as I said, insult. Hey, Barbaric! Welcome in, welcome in. How are y'all doing? What have y'all been doing? You're streaming Silent Hill 2? How was it? How was Silent Hill? We got us to thank for what he did. Pretty good. Honestly, short on sleep. So I'm just like trying to be like, okay, we can do some game, we can make some progress here. We can do it. Had a wonderful time in Silent Hill as always. Excellent, excellent. Have you beaten it yet? I haven't played any of the Silent Hill games, by the way. I like any of them. I should, though. I love horror games after all. I just finished Routine, which is a game I highly recommend, by the way, if you haven't considered playing it. It came out relatively recently. It's kind of like if you crossed Alien Isolation with Soma in a way. Very good. It came out a couple weeks ago, I think. But yeah, no, like it's one of those games that's been on my radar for like Silent Hill being at the very least. Isn't the first one was like GameCube? I want to say. I have to take it a look. Yeah. No, it's good. Just know it's one of the few games in recent history that has unnerved me greatly. So take that with a grain of salt, that if you are easily affected by horror, it's pretty up there as far as intensity. Excuse me. But yeah, no, so we just finished playing that game earlier, and then we just finished kind of like analyzing it, trying to look at it through like a game dev lens to see like what they did really well, what they could have done better, and what we could learn and pull from for our game that we're making. It might, yeah. Like honestly, like the sound design is so good. It's so good. And if you do play it, let me know. I want to watch you play it. I want to now that I finished playing it, I want to see other people do it. Like I have like a whole bunch of other content creators that I saw put their stuff up on YouTube, and I was like, no, I'll watch this when I'm done. And I finally finished, so now I get to see if it was just me that got stuck on all the things that I got stuck on. You know? In fact, this little guy, this Mama Dodo is, they're called IC. They're like little robot helpers. And, you know, IC 1D, I thought it was very funny. That's what this costume is kind of inspired off of. I've yet for a game to actually scare me, so definitely need to play this. Have you? I think you've seen the trailer for it. Have you seen the trailer, the horror trailer that looks like it's like 1900s style technology, and then a weird evil looking robot picks you up? Do you remember it? I feel like the trailer was like, I want to say like 4 or 5 years old at this point. Yeah. At the very least, I recommend watching the trailer, but highly recommend. It was very good. I had again, it was very spoopy for me. The sound design made it very, very creepy. It will be a long stream. The level's not easy. But yeah, so finished playing it, analyzing through game dev, and then now we're just kind of moving forward with our own. Have I talked to you, Barbaric, about the game that I'm making? I am making an indie horror game called Last Call that I work on Tuesdays, or at least I try to work on Tuesdays. Okay, so I am working on an indie horror game called Last Call, which is a 911 operator horror game where you have to figure out if the person on the other end of the call is a mimic or not. And you get to watch, you're in the call center on the bottom right, and then as the day moves on and you make decisions, it goes from house to house, and you have to make the decision of are they saying the truth? Are they do they sound a little bit weird, or their sentence structure a little off? And as the time moves forward, you send the appropriate emergency personnel to the location, and if you're wrong, you lose that personnel. So it's kind of like what it is it's more of a resource management game than anything else, because you need to keep your resources, aka your emergency personnel, as much of them as possible, because if you start losing them, you end up losing houses as things get more and more difficult as time moves forward. As they start to become more difficult to tell, they start speeding up until the game always ends with you being the last person alive. So and there's a couple different avenues that I'm tempted to go, but overall this is a very narratively isn't the best term for it, but every game's gonna have these kind of sub narratives happening depending on the situation, or just depending on how things unfold. So a good example is that I have a cable building here. In the beginning of the game, when things start to go bad, you and your team will release a statement through the cable company to all the TVs telling people to stay inside, not to trust people to open the door, etc. But if the cable area gets taken over by the mimics, then that message will change to, hey, there are people hurt, please let people in. And then it becomes a lot more effective at taking over houses throughout the town. So it's kind of there will be times where you have to kind of make a decision as far as where to save to try to last as long as possible. And yeah, it's coming it's going well. I really like it. I really like where it's heading. But I'm definitely feeling I work on this 1 day a week, so it's taking a long time. But yeah, that's what it is so far. And today we're tackling there is a always say the TV station who will spread the propaganda of our holy overlord Jefferson Bezos. I know, right? I eventually want every green building here to have a positive and negative effect as far as keeping it versus leaving it. But What we're trying to figure out now is we need to have the game realize where it is. And I think it's enter? Yes, enter. So if you look on the bottom there, see 430, 315, and then when I go to the next place, 392.60. When I hit enter, it gives me the global coordinates of the location it's currently in, which the Mimic is currently at near the bottom in the center of that red circle. FYI, the red circle is just like a debug menu thing that I turned on. It shows me the range of where it is able to then hop to. It's able to detect all the houses that it could possibly pick, and then it can go there. But there's a chance it will go bigger, like right here, right? And notes with land changing, staggered notes. The bigger ones are indicators of different difficulty of Mimic, right? As the Mimics become more difficult, in my mind, it means they are smarter. They're going to try to juke you. They're going to try to they have more options available. They're not going to go to like the closest house nearby, as usual, right? And so the reason that the location matters is because I need the game to know where it is. Because if this thing attacks the hardware store, there are certain calls that would come from the hardware store, or certain scenarios that would come from the hardware store that I don't want other things to call or come from. Right? So I needed to know that it's like, hey, if you're here, like before the dialogue is chosen, it needs to be aware of the location of where the Mimic is. And then it will choose an option from that location's kind of like selectable things, right? So we're trying to find out a way of like how do we want to be able to do that? What direction do we want to take to make that happen? And there's a couple of different ways we can go about it. I think last time I was considering making it so that it needed to detect the actual object itself, and then I had like a whole dictionary where everyone's objects, this object ID was linked to a particular name, and then then I could call that name saying like, cool, this name has these options, this names have these options, and then it would check that. But instead of doing like the object conversion, I was thinking location instead, which is why we have the global indicators here, which each has its own faults. If it's object specific, then I can move the object around as I want, but if I wanted to replace the object with a different one, I'm gonna have to do it. And or if the objects change location, I'm gonna have to redo it. Just kind of like reset it. So it's a little more difficult. We could also have it so it calls upon the location when it's about to call, where it's more of just right. So like this checks the global position, right? Location checking. So this one's all working. This is taking the global position of the current location and it's passing on, right? And so, okay. So it's able to do the global position. Print global current location. The current location is 610 and 100. So a part of me, if I was going to do something along the lines of like StreamerBot, for example, for if-then statements, essentially what I would do is that I would have a long string of if-then statements where it's like, cool, and then we would go down each and every one of these, be like, cool, if it's this location at house 1, then you would move forward with the calls in this group, or like you would turn this on, or then you would turn this on, because we also don't want each location to only have one option. So you have yeah, do it, make the 10,000 line if then block. I mean, kinda. Like, we have, I think it was 36, if I recall correctly, 36 different objects / buildings. So it would be a 36 line if then statement, pretty much. But then I need to think, like, okay, if I were to do that, what would the next step be? Because if it's like, cool, if it's 610 over 100, then it equal, which is the hardware store, then you would go where case blocking would be better. Explain case blocking to me. Pretend that I'm stupid. Totally, because I'm not. But then again... By the way, Barbaric, if you need to sit back and rest and drink some water and eat some food, please give yourself some self-care. I appreciate the raid. I appreciate the support. And I hope you had a wonderful stream. Here's a rubber duck. Yeah, exactly. Gonna take a bit of careful wording so I don't spread misinformation. I could also just look it up. So if you're off a little bit, that's fine. I'm not gonna burn you at the stake for it. You know what I mean? You're just saying like, hey, what about this? And I'm like, oh, I don't know what that is. Let's give it a shot. Like it's that. So don't feel like you're just like, oh, I have to have the textbook definition. Now, if it was one of those situations where I say one thing, you disagree, and then you were wrong, then it's like one of those things where it's just like, well, you probably should have had your receipts first. I want apple scented wood if I'm ever burnt at the stake. Weird, but I get that. I honestly get that. I kind of agree. That or like good charcoal. You know, that barbecue smell? Or hickory smoked? Anyway. What did I smell? I mean, you probably wouldn't smell for very long. So that's one option. Let's see. Actually, let's look. Let's look at what case blocking is. Let us see what we could possibly be. Alright, let's see. Case blocking. It's basically a way if statements where there might be more than like 2 or 4 conditions of a trigger happening. For example, let's say if you can make a calendar and had different endings of days. Interesting. No. Blocking input. Is there a proper way of blocking input for everything else until something? No, we don't want that. Interesting. I'm trying to look at case blocking at the moment, but I'm not seeing it. Case block. Go. GD script reference? Here. It's called matching in Godot. Ooh, okay. Then let's look in the docs. Match. Match is more TypeScript than the equals operator. For example, 1 will not match to 1.0. The only exception is string versus string name matching. For example, the string hello is considered equal to the string name and hello. Oh. Of course there's docs in this. It's a program. It's a code program. There is 100% Godot docs. But I honestly, you know what? We're saving hold on. About introduction. Godot docs where I'm bookmarking this. This should be good. Yeah. I don't count docs when coding in Notepad. Well, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't code in Notepad. I'm just kidding. Go live your life, King. I also do way too much in Notepad. No wonder you got excited when you saw me doing it, thinking that I was also doing it in Notepad. If I was gonna code anywhere that wasn't in the program, it was gonna be Excel, and you know it. It's more of an optimized way to make ifs. If you can implement them, props. If you can't, focus on getting if-else statement right. If we managed to get if-else statements right before. Also, I forgot about a whole cake, and now I'm sitting in the dark eating it. Okay, well, follow-up question: why are you in the dark? I don't think you having a cake would indicate why you would need to be in the dark. All right, so syntax. So it's match test value patterns block patterns when patterns block. Okay. Crash course for people who are familiar with switch statements. But what if I'm not familiar with switch statements? Is there a baby version? Is there a shape go into square hole version of this? Because that's more my speed. Oh, I love lemon cake, dude. However, unfortunately, cake usually goes really well with milk. Lemon cake does not. So it's always hard to kind of find a good drink with it. Because you don't want something sour. You're already eating something sour. And then the sour doesn't go well with milk, so you don't want milk. I guess water? Replace switch with match. Remove case. Remove any breaks. Change default to single underscore. The patterns are matched from top to bottom. If pattern matches the first corresponding block, it will be executed. After that, the execution continues the match statement. All right. The following patterns, the special continue behavior and match supported in 3x is removed in Godot. Okay, cool. So we don't do that. Good thing we didn't get used to it because it won't matter. The following literal pattern matches the literal X print. We are number 1. We are 2 better than 1. Test. Oh snap! It's a string. Okay. So if I'm understanding this correctly, what we'll do is that it's a match all the different stuff, and then of that we do a print to make sure that it works, saying house 1, house 2, house 3, etc. I guess my follow-up question is, what do we do after that? How do we be like, cool, we know this is house 1. We are able to determine this is house 1 due to the location of on the map. How do we make it now so that the option then determines what is able to be chosen or not? I don't know. Maybe let's just do one step at a time and see how we get there. I don't like wasting my time and energy, but you know what? Man, do I do that like most of the time. Originally, I brought said cake whim weekday snack. Same because I apologize all the time for the dumbest reasons. It seduced me with the devilish packaging and low price of $2 cake is really good, especially if it doesn't kill you. As for the dark part, don't I? My skin can't be on the light for more than 30 minutes past. I'll stop being a dev with the urge to take a shower. Listen. Being a game dev is no excuse to not being hygienic. Take your damn shower. Okay. Okay, notepad. Boop. Haha. All right. So, yeah, you guys can read that. Okay. So this is our current logic, right? Match, I think, is going to solve this next part. But first problem. Our first problem is assigning global value to location. Second problem is once location is found, choose specific responses based on value. For me, it's the challenge to shower is we have no running water. That okay? You're an exception. You're an exception. You think that, but my God, some people don't know how to use a deodorant in my class. I swear it's like breathing in a whole types of oxygen. Yeah. Seriously, please, for yourself and everyone around you, please be hygienic. Brush your teeth at least once a day, at least twice a day, if you can. 3 times feels a little excessive, but you do you. Shower and or bathe. Well, it also depends on the person. I will also put a little asterisk. There are some people that they don't sweat and they don't really stink and they can go without showers for like 2 or 3 days, and it's until like late 3rd day is it becoming a problem, right? For me, I need to do daily because your man sweats a lot. I do unfortunately got the stank, so for a long time as like a high school student, I wasn't like I was putting deodorant on, but man, it did not matter. So I needed like clinical strength deodorant when should have happened a lot sooner than it did. So just know, if it ain't working, you just have to keep on trying something stronger. Talk about the behavior. Gonna brush after every snack. Some people are like that. I feel like that scratches away your enamel more, but you know, whatever. I can tackle the hottest pepper in the world. Oh God. Okay, so once the location is found, choose specific responses based on its value. That's assignment number 2. Honestly, let's just do this. Let's just do this part. It's fine. Okay, matches a constant expression, an identifier, or an attribute access A.B. Oh, so it's like a type, where it's like match the type of the thing, right? So this is what we're gonna do for our knowledge about what we have gotten so far. So print current location, and then what's gonna be the case is we're going to match current location. Does that not work? Do I need to put it in here? Okay. All right. Yeah, okay. This one doesn't have anything after it, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. I thought of my dentist dual wielding Excalibur and the chainsword from Space Marine 2 as he delves into my mouth. All right. What was that one weird cartoon where it was like, I don't even remember. It was like the Cavity Cavalry or something. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Yeah, luckily no root canal. I have had a few cavities. So there's that. I just don't have good teeth for it. The kid you tooth because he was touched by decay. Yeah. I just remember a bunch of dudes that had drills and they're in your mouth. I don't know. Wild card pattern. This pattern matches everything. It's written as a singular underscore. It can be used as equivalent to default in a switch statement in other language. This is not 1 or 2. I don't care about it, to be honest. Binding pattern. Interesting. A binding pattern introduces a new variable like a wildcard pattern that matches everything and also gives the value a name. Oh, that one's good. Let's take that one. Let's take that one. So variable, shit. I would do current location. Global position. What would it be? What would be gay? What was it? Depiction. Hold on. Now I'm the dentist thing. It won't go away in my brain. It was like cartoon, cavity, cavity. It was like cavity. Is it cavalry? No, cavity with drill. No, none of these. Was it Billy and Mandy? I remember it being weird. That's why I'm thinking Billy and Mandy. No drill. Show it to it because I'm also curious. I'm gonna show you in a second after I figure it out. Right now I'm just looking. Cartoon cavity, 90s. Hold on. Here. Boop. Is there a cartoon of dentist? I have no idea, dude. What was it? It was like, I don't know what that's about. That's weird. Beat monsters. That's disgusting. We Are Monsters was a wild cartoon, dude. They really should not have gone away with it, but they had. Maybe early 2000s? Instead of 90s? Oh, gross. A lot of AI nonsense. Gosh, what was it? Cavity men with drills. No, that's not it. I have no idea. I have no clue. Damn it. Damn it. I don't think. Hold on. Was it Kids Next Door? Was it Kids Next Door? Oh no, that was something different. That was wild. That was gross. It will be on my mind all day. I don't know how y'all keep up with this. It's supposed to be game dev, and I'm just like, what were the cartoon cavities in the 90s? And it just flashes you like a bunch of cursed teeth stuff. Anyway, new variable. New variable. That's what it was. We were going to create a new variable as like a baseline of like, where it's like print 3am Dodo Man tossing and turning thinking about cavities. Ah, gosh, I hope not. I haven't been to the dentist in a hot minute, but I do my best to take care of my teeth. Okay. So the variable, what should we call the variable for where something that applies to everything, right? It matches everything and also gives the value a name. It's especially useful in an array or dictionary patterns, right? Because essentially that's what we're doing. It's like we're making a big list of something, and then, but the new variable at the end that we can call upon it at any point, which we are going to call upon it. Location options. And the location option is print The current location is location option. I should do this because there's no spaces. Cool. Let me think then refashes, don't worry about it. The thing is like I think too specific. I think too specific first, and then because it's perfect, I'm like, oh, that's a perfect name. Then I go one more down, it's like, oh right, I need like another name for this, and it's like, well, I used the perfect name other before, so what the frick? Let's do this then. Let's do variable ping. Print ping. Match ping. And then this is current location. And then this is current location. Perfect. Yes. Just the plural and singular versions of names for the most of my stuff. It is a pain to reread the code, right? Okay, cool. So this where's like location ping, where's it just pings it. So that's the ping. This is just making sure that the button's working, which honestly I could probably turn off now that I know the button's working. So now that we have the match, let's finish reading the match, right? So we have a new variable that's going to be introduced to the whole thing. It applies to every one of them, which means that we can call upon it at any other point, which we will. And we have 36 other ones that we need to do. Array pattern matches an array. Every single element in the array is a pattern in and of itself, so you can nest them. Ooh, a way to nest arrays. That's actually really good to know in this scenario. I think I used to do that for all my Java constructors. That's funny. The length of the array is tested first. It has to be the same size as the pattern, otherwise the pattern doesn't match. Open-ended array can be bigger than the pattern, making the last pattern ... Every subpattern has to be comma separated. So we have... wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot there. Okay. Works in the same way as array pattern. Every key has to be a constant pattern. The size of the dictionary is tested first. Has to be the same size of the pattern. Open in the dictionary, blah, blah, blah. Every subpattern has to be comma separated. Name, Dennis. The name is Dennis. Name, Dennis. Age. There is age. Actually, this with the dictionary makes a lot of sense. Because, like, if I have a dictionary, and if I have all these variables, right, you need a good way to reflect that to the player or to whoever it is interacting with it. So interacting this is where it's just like, cool, it just adds up all the stuff, and it's just like, cool, just say print, Dennis is blank age and then years old, age, the same age is not whatever. Godot is awesome. I only checked for one entry and ignore the rest. Multiple patterns. You can also specify multiple patterns separated by a comma. These patterns aren't allowed to have any bindings in them. Like of Isaac, or... I gave a friend nightmare over my manually spaced indentations. Manually spaced indentations is wild. 1, 2, 3 print is... It's 1 through 3. Sword, splash post, and fist. Print, yep, you've taken damage. Weird. Pattern guards is an optional condition that follows the pattern list and allows you to make additional checks before choosing a match branch. Unlike a pattern guard can be an arbitrary expression. I know what that means and what I just read just now. I would like to blame my very staggered practice of coding through my early years due to COVID, and I've had to come enough time to bounce back, so I can only blame myself. Amen. Only one branch can be executed per match. Once a branch is chosen, the rest are not checked. If you want to have the same pattern for multiple branches or prevent choosing a branch that's too general, you can specify a pattern guard after the list of the win keyword. That's true. You are trying to do a lot. Yeah. You want to know something really funny, Dragon? I think y'all will get a kick out of this. I had a semi-revealing lesson through a game that I was playing called Megabonk. Let me explain. If you know Megabonk, you know Megabonk. So I was doing a run where I wanted to do some unlocks. I think it was like armor and thorns or something. I wanted to get them up to like level 8 to unlock some more items. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm going to go for armor, and then I'm going to go to thorns. But I also wanted a sword because I needed a certain amount of kills to do the sword. And then I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. And then it was like, oh, I also needed, I think it was one other thing that I needed as well. And I was like, okay, cool. If I do all these at the same time and just be good enough, then I'll be able to like get really good progress and do the unlocks for all 4 of these at the same time. It's very efficient. Do you want to guess what happened? I died. I didn't get very far because my build was ass. because it wasn't synergistic, because I was trying to unlock so many things at the same time. So you can always blame something on someone else, you just have to try hard enough. So like what I learned, Megabonk, and for those that don't know, it's like vampire. It's like the vampire. What do you call it? It's the game where you run around and everything around you dies. Like it's that kind of game. Hold on. This Megabonk. Anyway, what that taught me was if I try to do too much at once, I will just run out of steam and fall flat on my face, which has been what's been happening. And I've been so frustrated because I'm just like, why am I not moving forward? And I realize that it's like, oh, when you try to do too many different things at the same time and don't instead focus on doing things that support the new thing you're trying to do while also sustaining and maintaining and amplifying the thing that you're trying to do, you're just not gonna get very far. And when I died, guess how much progress I made? 0 on any of them, except maybe the sword, because it like kills there, but it was like 10,000 kills, so it barely counted. Like too short a time. Exactly. Has been no telling the show I love does exactly what I'm doing in my whole life. Really? Like the people who made it, or the story about, like inside the story. But yeah, so, and then I tried it again, this time focusing on like at maximum 2. Like 1 doesn't feel like it's worth doing. Or obviously it's worth doing, but it feels like I'm wasting my time only doing 1. So instead it's like, cool, I'm going to choose 2 synergistic things that I want to work on, and then it feels like I'm being extra efficient, but I'm not gimping the whole run because I'm trying to do too much at once that just do not go well together, right? And I think it ended up being sword in thorn or something. No, it was like sword and armor. So it was just like, cool. Now they get close. I don't take a lot of damage. And then I had other things that were really, really good that helped carry me the rest of the way. So just a little bit of learning thing from my end is like, now I took that into consideration. It's like, cool, let's do a maximum of 2 things. So in my schedule and stuff that I make, it's like I have a primary thing that I am trying to do, and then like a side project that I do a little bit on the side. But I give myself no more than those 2 things. If I want to do more or want to try something different, one of those gotta give. Because they squeeze so much story in like episodes, so the pacing is too damn fast. 9 plot points and barely got built up. Yeah. They did that better in season 2, but the pace is still too fast. Agreed. I'm in agreement with that. I think it's just an issue of pacing, just in general. But I mean, that's kind of the same thing that we're talking about. I'm gonna turn on the light. Oh. So, hopefully that little nugget of truth, or at least my truth, will help y'all in your own way. And it's so funny because when I think about like taking off for the next few weeks, like one of the things that I keep on pushing me otherwise is just like, but think about how much work you could potentially get done with the project, or with the lore video, which we still haven't completed yet. And I'm like, I think about all the work that needs to be done, and I'm like, I don't have time to take off. But I am at a point in my life, and luckily I've experienced that enough times to know that that's a very unhealthy mindset. The idea that you have to finish what you're doing in order to take a break. You have to be productive enough to earn a break. And I think, my parents did what they could. But I think it's partly due to the way I was raised. I was raised in a household where productivity and things that you need to get done need to happen before anything fun or relaxing happened. Regardless of how hard it was, regardless of how long it took, I wasn't allowed to do anything fun, entertaining, or resting until it was done. And I think that ingrained in me a unhealthy relationship. Granted, it wasn't just that. It was other things too. Of this separation that I'm trying to reprogram myself. You've done quite a lot, Dodo. You've already done emo. It's got a lot of lore done. Yeah, thank you. It doesn't feel like I've done nearly enough. But I need to understand. It was funny too. What was it? Oh, the edited video I did? Hey, Star Beast, how are you doing? Welcome in, welcome in. That's exactly what my family is. Exactly, right? The edited video that I made took like 3 full days. Like, I mean, like hard. I ate, I worked on it, I ate again, and then like spent time with friends and then went to bed. Like 3 full days of that, weeks apart. To get that video done, because I took about 6 hours of VOD and made it into about like only an hour of the edited stuff, and I had a lot of fun, and it was really great, and I finished it, and I put it out there, and everything was good to go, and I felt no satisfaction. Zero. I felt no accomplishment. All my brain could think about was like, all right, time to move on to the next video. And I'm like, this can't. I have to find a way. I have to find a way to feel accomplished for things that I do. Time to start clicker training. I need to be careful with clicker training. Did you seriously train your brain to be a factory? Honestly, Dragon, I think the way that I was raised mixed with the way that the industry and of science and pharmaceuticals have programmed my brain to be a factory. And I don't think I was ever designed to be a factory. And I think that's part of the reason why I burned out so quickly. And so readily. And it's hard, and it's difficult to come up with your own structure and your own way of going about things that are a lot better and healthier mindset for your own body when you were never taught it. So if there's any advice that I could give y'all, any advice at all, it's the earlier you can find out the rules of your own brain and how you click and how you do things and work with that system, things get so much better. So much better. And I'm still trying to figure that out. So, just saying. Testing the theory. Currently trying to click or train a friend to make him accept he is a back-end dev. So, oh, is it like me saying potential artist instead of artist? It's like, no, bro, you're doing the work. You count yourself. However, what I will say, careful with clicker training. For what I hear, clicker training is kind of dangerous. It's really effective. And by really effective, I mean really effective. It's really hard to kind of get off of it. So, just letting you know, from what I understand with clicker training, it's like you don't mess around with it. Took me soon to realize that this means I use the term padlock dog. Oh yeah, the drooling. Yeah. All right, let's do another ad break. I want to figure out this finish looking at the match stuff real quick. Then we're gonna fill out our match thing, and then we're gonna see how we feel. Because even that out of itself, if we can make the match thing work perfectly fine, and then it knows which house it is, I think that's a great development. So, see y'all in 3 minutes. It's just that he always gets better grades in all of our back-end models compared to our front ones, but he still refused the fact that he is a front-end dev. Listen, some people are just harder on themselves. They have different... kind of like they have a box where it's just like, I don't fit in that box, but the way they define the box is weird. So a good example of this was, for the longest time, I said potential artist. Why is my mic doing that? One click at a time. Suddenly, every single time you click, he starts drooling, and you're like, wait a minute, I did this wrong. But for the longest time, I said potential artist. Or not a potential, aspiring. I said aspiring artist. But I was doing, like, dodo costumes, and I was making and I was drawing thumbnails, and, like, I was doing all the other, like, I was doing art. But in my mind, you're not really an artist until someone pays for your art. So my box of an artist was a professional artist. The reality was, it's like, I'm not an artist until I make a living off of this. It's like, no, that's a professional artist. There's a difference between professional artists and artists. One gets paid for a living and the other may or may not be paid for a living. But they're both artists. And then it took a long time for me to to remove aspiring from my dictionary and just say artist. I am. Do I think I'm at where I want to be? Fuck no. That's a big F. No. But I think I'm getting a little better. And honestly, our spring cleaning / tier lists for Mama Dodo costumes, it really shows when, like, most of the higher tier stuff are recent stuff. The older stuff tend to lean to the bottom, and the newer stuff lean to the top. Like, there is an inclination of that, which is good. Gonna bring Candy to class to feed him whenever I see him working on the back end of a website. Fucking geese. He's not a bird. That is me trying to call myself multi-talented when I'm not really aspiring in any field. That shows improvement. Yes, I think polyglot is the term, technically. If you're multi-talented, it's polyglot. Polyglot. Or that's several languages. What is it? It's something weird. Not weird. Another word for multi-talented. Oh, let's go to Word Hippo. I love Word Hippo. Word Hippo is my jam. Multi-talented. Marked by person. Oh, a balance of skill, ability, and a performance. Where are you? Polymath. Yes. Polymath. Person, wide-ranging knowledge of or learning. Individual knowledge spans many different subjects. Going from generalist to polymath also helps. You want, because a generalist gives the feeling of being lackluster in many fields versus having being excelling in multiple fields. And it's hard to find that distinction. Found a Clifford gift for the Discord. This is perfect since I can't see him in person due to vacations. Don't like clicker train him virtually. However, if you were going to do that, you could change the text sound on his phone. A sound alert that he received a message from you specifically to be the clicker. But certainly I wouldn't recommend doing that. And also, has he noticed that you're trying to clicker train him? You know what I mean? Honestly, I could see it. I could see it. A pattern guard is, let's see, this is confusing to me. So it's 0-0, print origin, point of x-axis, point of y-axis. Oh. Follows the pattern list and allows you to make additional checks before choosing match branch, unlike point of line, point of then. Okay. But at least this goes to show that this is how you would do it. So this is how we do it. Let's see. So if we hit enter, 8040. Current location is 8040. Okay, cool. Let's put a space here. And then does it upgrade immediately? Hold on. No. Let's refresh it again. Did the bot just add a VOD on the channel midstream? It did. I have it so that it goes at 5 when we usually get off, but because we did late today, you know, normally the time would be perfect, but today the timing's a little off because I was a little bit late. So sorry about that. But which one is the one today, actually? Hold on. Let's see. You would think I would know, since I'm the one who set this up. Yeah, that was when we talked about cannibalism for like 2 hours. Pretty fun. That was a pretty good one. If y'all haven't seen Deck yet, we don't collab with them often, but it's always fun. It's always fun spending time with them. Which also reminds me, it's been a while since we've been able to see Bappy. I'd also like to do another collab with them relatively soon. And I did hear that Ella's also kind of got a new job, so she's kind of doing streaming less. So yeah. Now what I was gonna say this next week for our 2027 time capsule after we open the 2026 one. But I do want to mention that, like, this year we might not have gotten the things done that we wanted to get done, aka the first 2 lore videos, which if I remember correctly is what I wanted to that was what I was planning on doing. But in exchange of that, like, we've really broadened our horizon of like who we collab with. There's been so many cool new people that we've met this year that, like, we grew in a totally different way than I thought we were going to. Barbaric is a good example. Like Barbaric and Zelda and Ella and like all of them have been super great. You have a list of things you've done this year. I had fun doing it with some music friends. I don't like New Year's resolutions, but I do plan on doing another time capsule. It's just kind of like seeing where my head was at a year ago, and then seeing how I will see myself right now a year from now. You know? Babby had to be one of my favorite person you collab with. Yeah! Did you ever watch our Helldivers one, by the way? We did a Helldivers 2 collab at one point. I think that VOD's coming out within the next couple weeks. Gotcha. Okay, good. Yeah, no. Babby's great. The clicker train is unironically working. He apparently was heading downstairs, but turned around and came back when I sent the clicker gift. Told you. Again, be careful with clicker training. It's really effective. You don't know the power you wield. I'm more concerned. I'm gonna be honest. But what if we could do another one soon? It's like Frankenstein seeing Frankenstein's monster. What have I done? Just looking at the clicker. No. Okay. So, what was it? Yes, okay. We made a space here because that was bothering me. So that's fine. We're gonna go ahead and do that. Does the location. We're gonna do we're not gonna print ping. That was just making sure that it was working. Midnight here, so I'm gonna go to bed. All right, have a good night. Thank you for stopping by. It was wonderful having you, as always, Dragon. All right, print the location is the current location, and then now we take this, right? 80, 40, print. This is house 1. Okay. All right. Okay. So that didn't work. But what if we did, instead of this, expecting closing after grouping expression? After what grouping expression? I did. Then how did they do it? Because here's the thing, match point, right? Oh, yeah, it's match point 0, 0, print origin. If we do point, is it better? What if we do point? And then do this. It's not declared anywhere. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's still ping. So does it need to be this? This would be weird if this ends up working, by the way. Yeah, no, that's nothing. So this is like, again, it's 80-40, right? It's 80-40. Well, then where? Here it is. I'm convinced I'm buying an actual clicker now. Please, okay. Alright, fine. Fine. This is classes. That's different. There's no matching pattern in the current branch. The pattern will not have evaluated, blah, 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 blah. Print. Match point. What if we did this? If I'm understanding this correctly. What if we did... And now we give it a shot. Crap. Okay, well, what if we did this? And then we did... Okay, well, if you're going to do this, then 80, 40... Okay, if it's 80-40, then this is house 1. Let's try this. What if we do... That one doesn't do it. So what if we do that and that? Okay, what if we did this? Jesse, what are the numbers made? No. I just want you to tell me where it's just like, cool, the current location is this parameters. It's a position. Match position. Jesse. Poso. Pay. There we go. Alright, so like, because like the current location wait, how is this? No, that's right. Because like when we look at the examples, right? There's this one. That's an array pattern. This is a wild card where it's just like type float. This is just like 1, 2, just like 1 and then 2 and then blah, right? But all I want is just to be okay. Let's do something crazy. Let's just do that. See what happens. Nope. So we want a match. Matches are literal, right? It's just 1, and then 2, and then test, right? Oh snap! It's a string. So the test should, like, here's the thing: this should work, theoretically speaking. This should work. Is it just for debugging? This is right now we're trying to make it so that basically we are getting our current global position, naming it ping, and then we're going to say currently, or it makes a variable current location, right? That prints the current location is blank. So my current location is currently parenthesis 80 comma 40 parenthesis close parenthesis. So what that says to me, it's like, cool, I want to make that location right here from this thing. I want it to be able to say, hey, when it's at this location, print, this is house 1. Because this is how I'm going to be determining like how it's able to know which one of the calls to choose from. Is that via the location on the map, it limits the amount, like what calls can come through is dependent on that. So from my understanding, for at least this one here, the test in quotations that and then print would mean, like, if X ended up being test, this would happen. So if that's the case, why is it that when I do this, when it's 80/40, which is exactly what it spits out, does it not give me that one? Why? Is this not what it's giving me? This is just gonna give me the same thing twice, but let's do it to double check. Yeah, 80/40. If we just copy paste this right in here, literally the same. If ping matches 80/40, then it will print this is house 1. Oh, I get it. I get it. I see. I'm part of the Matrix. I see it. I can smell it. And I smell blood. All right. I forgot. It only goes to the first one, and if it matches, then it stays. Fuck. It didn't work. But I am correct. I am correct in that. That's why the variable is always on the bottom. Don't expect more of that. Okay. Let's try this one. All right. And then you can snip it. Oh. Yeah, you can always clip it. There's a clip thing that you can do via Twitch. And then it'll be a forever clip. Hurrah! Fußfraba. I don't know why this one didn't work. I'm gonna be real with y'all. This should have worked. $80.40, $80.40. It's the first thing on there. $80.40. Why? That doesn't need to be there anymore. It's going straight down here. And then what we'll do is that we'll just do $50-80 is house 2. $50-80 house 2. Right? Match ping. 80-40 is house 1. 50-80 is house 2. One of these is true right now. Right? Location is 80-40. Location is... The current location is 80-40. Oh! See, this is... Expected closing parenthesis after hold on. Let me do this. Expected closing parenthesis. Godot expected closing parenthesis. The problem is that you're giving a type in the cell. You can only give type hints when defining a function, not when calling one. So you need to change the call to... But I just forgot I wasn't defining it anymore. Thank you. What? I knew that. Haha. Do what? Giving a type of call. Giving a type of call. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know. Ugh. So, tile options. I still don't get it. Update from tile map tile. Do I need... Okay, this feels weirdly backwards, but variable house 1 equals 80-40. Um, 80-40. And then if I do this, this feels dumb, but maybe. A part of me is just like, oh, okay, so it's not, maybe it can't call. I don't know how that's different than what I did before, but maybe it's one of those things where it's just like you can't just do that. Yeah, I didn't think so. What if I did this? Yeah, I didn't think so. Well, that's the thing, is like I want to be If global position is equal to 80/40, then print house 1. See, why is it giving me this parenthesis? That's the part that I don't like. That's making me think that, like, all right, let's see. Expecting, when is it closed? It's closed. Await is not a function. Thus, opening parentheses is interpreted as grouping function, which is expected to end before the comma, which it doesn't. Await is a keyword and expects a signal following it. It should probably read... Who says I'm not a pug? You haven't seen my face. You don't know what I'm about. I may be a genetic abomination, but I'm cute, and you're responsible for my well-being. So this one has... you are a dodo. Fascinating. And yet here I am, not a dodo. I am a man. Just kidding. Or am I a toy? Or am I a lighthouse? Or am I a chef? Or am I a vulture? Nah, I'm a dodo. That's fine. Or am I a robot? Oh gosh. Await active character dot play turn dot completed. Okay, let's be more specific. Godot, how do you match global variables? Oh, coordinates. Scripted. No, that's not what I want. Global positions between scenes won't match up. LS is a global coordinate. And for nodes that use different coordinate systems, do choose something similar. I have a node in the canvas layer. I'm trying to set it as one of the children to have the same position of that of a node on the outside of the canvas layer. That's not what we want. That's not what we want. We don't want any of that. I don't even know what matrices and transforms. Why? I just want. Ugh. What if we do this? Maybe we're overthinking it. Maybe we're overthinking it a little. Ping equals 80, 40. It's just gonna do the same thing. It's just gonna do the same thing. Yep, grouping. Let's see. Make something happen when global coordinates global position between scenes won't match up. Get all instances of global coordinates with the difference between position and global large world coordinates when used. Position, global position. discussion clarifies the distinction between position and global position. Do it this way for some reason. Position refers to the node's position in relation to its parent. Global position refers to position in relation to the game window. Actually, what is the difference between coordinate and or global position and coordinate? Should I be using one over the other? Wait a minute. Get all instances of how can I match the positions of two children's node coordinates, large world coordinates, matrices, and transforms? Okay. What I don't understand is I can have one of these just be straight up, just like ping is 1. And that's fine. If I did 80, 40, oh shit, does this work? I'm gonna lose my mind if that's true. No, it doesn't. Of course it wouldn't. Why doesn't this work? I don't understand. If I did this and I was just like boom, boom, same situation. The grouping is a problem. But all I want is to match what it's saying. This is giving a global position. Ping is a position. So how do you match positions? A node type of displaying text under a canvas layer must be better. How's the script on its extends label and export variable target node 2D function process float. And then there's the 2D tag after it responded. Pull up for 3D. Let's see. Quick look away and then look back, and the code needs to see you are playing hard to get for it to work, right? I thought this was going to be the easiest part. Once we got the match thing done, I'm like, cool, I just need to put in the numbers and we're good to go. And I'm just like, oh, no, it doesn't like the thing that it spits out. I'm like, what do you mean you don't like the thing you're spitting out? You're spitting it out. I'm taking the thing that you're saying you are, and I'm like, cool. It's like this. It's like this. Hey. Where are you right now? I'm by the locker. Cool. Hit space. Where are you right now? I'm by the door. Okay, cool. If you're by the door, say quack. And then as soon as I hit space when they're next to the door, they go like, I'm by the door. It's like, what do you mean? I said if you're by the door, you quack. It's like, actually, I don't like that parenthesis. I don't like the words that begin with Q. And I'm like, what? Why is that a problem? You're the one saying it. You're the one actively saying it. Why are you shopping at a soup store copy pasta? I'm about to. I'm about to, man. Because I put this, right? It's like, cool. I want this What if it's this? What if it's just that? What if it's not even parenthesis? What if it's not even parenthesis? What happens? What happens? Does it explode? Does it buy soup? Nope. I forgot I even had an escape bar on there, not gonna lie. What if I put the parentheses on the outside? Will it get mad at me? Because it doesn't like parentheses. Oh. Hold up. It didn't get mad at me that time. Hold up. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. Put a little love in it. Hollywood Undead for you. Oh no. I thought that's pretty decent. I thought that was pretty good. Why isn't that working? Look. Look at it. Look at it. You are directly telling me this. It's directly telling me. And I'm like, hey, you're telling me this. So if you're telling me this, this is your wallet. That makes sense. And then so I copied it, and now I'm gonna paste it right in here. Boop. See? It's exactly what you want from me. So I'm just gonna refresh this page, and you're gonna match ping with this. Yeah? And I'm gonna hit enter, and you are gonna tell me this is house 1. No, of course not. Of course, why would it? Why would it? Why would it work? Why would it? So funny enough, if I do this, it gets mad at me again. When it's this, it doesn't get mad at me. I just want. Let's see here. Let's test this theory. If I just do that, which apparently is a valid choice, by the way, one single underscore counts, but apparently a coordinate that it literally spits out doesn't. It's gonna say house 1. Watch, house 1. Cool, neat. So this autofill is correct, but I, being the generous person that I am, yes. Why? I just want to know why. Why wouldn't it work? I understand to a certain degree why this one does not work. Right? I understand to a certain degree why that doesn't work. It's saying, hey, that's a coordinate. It's seeing the parenthesis after the comma, and for whatever reason, it makes his feelings hurt, and now it has to go to therapy. But like, then there's another part of me that's like, but you're saying it. That's the variable. The variable is printing the thing. It's giving this. This is what it's telling me. Alright? So, is there an extra step that I need to do? Is there a thing that's just like, hey, you can't just put coordinates into a match? That would be crazy. Why? I'm just matching the output of a positional. And I'm like, cool. Like, even up here, it's like, cool. I want my global coordinates. Oh, can I do like, global coordinates right? It's kind of one of those things where I'm just like, well, House 1 is that. And that still isn't good enough. Even though it's exactly what it's saying. Which gives me pause. Because I'm like, well, if you don't like it, if you don't like the exact thing that you're telling me, it's like someone coming up to me and being like, hey, did you know grapes can wear sweaters? And I'm like, grapes can wear sweaters? And then they immediately go, ew, that's gross. Why did you tell me that? I didn't want to hear that. And I'm like, bro, you just said that to me. What do you mean that I have insulted you? You just said it. Now, it could be something really effing dumb, and it's like, actually, everything was going exactly as possible. It was perfect. It's just you put the wrong numbers, you dumb individual. But I'm seeing 80-40. I'm seeing X. See, a part of me wants to be like, well, what if it's like, if X equals blah and Y equals blah? Because the only other one that's like kind of close to it is like, this one. Point on x-axis. Point on y-axis. Right? Right? But we tried this. So if we drew it again, it's 80, 40. Right? We did it this way. And I'm like, cool. That seems about right. Do it. Doesn't work. Why not? And I'm like, oh, that's because it's brackets. It's brackets instead. So what if we do something stupid and we're just like, what if it's parentheses inside of brackets? I know how much it loves that. What if it's this instead of inside of it? Does this count? Does this fudging count? No, of course not. Why would it? Why would it work? Why would that work? That's crazy. I'm talking crazy. I'm speaking literal insanese right now. This is a pattern guard that follows a pattern list that allows you to make additional checks. Unlike a pattern guard could be an arbitrary expression. You can specify a pattern guard for the list of patterns. When X equals Y. What is this? %S? %S? What the heck is percent mean in Godot? What does this mean? Can I like just do this? No, of course not. Wow, that would be crazy. That'd be crazy. I was crazy once. They locked me in a room. %S. What if we do what if we did this and then X when X is equal to 40? What do you mean? That's what you that's what you that's a thing. Oh. Oh yeah, I haven't identified X as literally anything. It's just like, well, would the percentages be equal to a string? Maybe. So if I were to be like, oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna do like %80 and then %40. They're just like, what are you doing? What is Unk doing? Can I do like %S? Yeah, nothing. It's like a formatted string format. It would be percentages for string D for integers and %F for floats. Oh. Gotcha. Okay, that at least makes sense. You know what doesn't? Sorry. Bit of a inner demons were coming out a little bit. Had to show it back down a little. I don't know how to approach this. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I thought the match thing was gonna be the end of the rainbow, but I have a sneaking suspicion the if-then statement was also gonna be like crazy. If we look at our dictionary version, that still wouldn't work. Because we would have to call it. Like, we would have to make this dictionary. Which I don't mind, which would be like house is like this thing. So then it's like, cool, if house is this. Is that how we should do it? Now that I think about it, instead of this whole match thing, should we make it so that it's like, instead of name, it's just house, and instead of Dennis, it's the coordinates, and then we have like, if house is coordinates, then house 1, then you follow through with these. But then how would you even get it? Basically, these are one of the situations where we bang our head into the wall for like 2 hours, and then we, like, within the first 5 minutes of the following week, we figure it out. It's really funny. So if I git global. Ping pong. What? What the hell is ping pong? I don't want to know. We're fine. I'm not sure if formatted strings is what you're doing it to look like. Integer equals x equals 1, double y equals string name equals name, system out print. If you answer D. What if we did this? X equals 80. Y equals 40. Int x equals 80. Int y equals 40. I'm thinking like if we're calling it, maybe that's why it looks weird. Kind of like what you were putting before where it's just like integer x equals 1. Where it's like, this is saying x 80, y 40. So I'm saying it's like, oh, what if we split it up? Our placeholders in the string, you can declare what their value will be with the name of the variables after the string in order for the placeholder. Okay. So in that case, in this case at the very least, percentage is XY. So it would be %s, where the percent is equal is these. Or it's like a string. So it would be like percent. It was like it would be percent integer, so percent I. So I'm not sure this is equivalent or not. I think we're getting there. I think like it could be like percent int or percent I. The issue is the fact that what's being spit out is something it doesn't like. I need to make it so it spits out something that it actually likes. Global position does not seem to be something it likes. If we stuck with object identifying number, similar to, I think it was like rigid body something with like a long string, it would have been an integer. Then I think it would have worked. But because it's a global position, I don't think it's liking it. So, because even when we put it as exactly the what it would be spitting out, it still isn't rating it. Which is giving me the impression it's like, okay, we need to call something else. We can't call global position. Mimic dash global. Let's do local position. Mimic dot. Let's see. What can we do with the mimic? Let's see, what can we do with the mimic? Global position, rotation, scale, look at, move. What if we just did mimic position? See what happens. I mean, not even global, just position. Oh. Well, this is awkward. It's the same shit. What else can we do? What else can we call? Okay, so position, rotation, scale to global to local. Clip children. I hope not. Draw. Wow, I didn't know this drew. Drew circle. Draw string. Get canvas layer. Get global mouse position. Get global transform. Get world TD. Hide. What we got? I don't know, man. It's an option. They're not saying we can use it. I'm just saying it's there. Show texture. Yeah. I see. I wanted to see if maybe we could pull it out of our butt at the last bit. Z index. Add child. That's crazy. In this economy? Nah. Find children. Man, if they just put that on every single. Never mind. Find parent. That's equally. Get child. That's ominous. That's an ominous one. How different that is to, like, what was it? What was the other one? It was. I don't even know. Get parent. Get tree. Please do. Is the ancestor of. Name. Notification owner. Print tree. Remove child. Jesus. Reparent. Replace. Scene file path. Set. Process. Tree. I thought that said tree exciting, and I was like, an exciting tree. You don't say. Get class. Get indexed. Brown. Get script. Has meta. A little embarrassing, but his class is connected. Remove meta. Set meta. Free. Global position. Yeah, global position is just what we're used to. All right, we will tackle this. Probably not the 6th, but probably the week after the 6th. So we're gonna be taking a break for a couple weeks. The next time I see y'all will be Christmas, and then the time after that will be New Year's Eve, and then it will be the following week's weekend. Thank you all for joining me here today. Let's see if there's anyone that we want to raid that is here. Let us see. Not really. No. Okay. So, I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining me, and I will see y'all in a few days for Christmas. And, yeah. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say, but I think that was it. Alright, have a good one, everyone. Hopefully I'll see you then. If not, I'll see you into New Year's Eve. Have a good one. See ya. Bye-bye.